And I love it. But I also have a 5.5-month daughter and a 48-year-old daughter. I got quite a range here. And so I said, I'm not going to spend the time on the road so much. And normally I go to like 115, 116 cities and about 15 countries every year. And then winter hit. Did you come see me? Nice to see you. Nice to see your faces, most of you without masks. If you have a mask, I'm cool, make your own choices, but I'm glad most of you feel comfortable enough to be yourselves again.
Yeah!
But I don't do a bunch of speeches anymore because I created a new way of delivering, but this man I love dearly. There's so many people in this industry that just take. They're phonies. And this man, since the day I met him, has total integrity. I don't mean integrity like judging somebody. I mean integrity like he's here to serve you. I know you feel that, and so give him a big hand for the rest of you. And the world's opening up and then shutting down and opening up and shutting down. Be glad you're not in Australia. I don't know if my Aussie friends are on the line, but I just did a program in Australia from here. And it's crazy. 1,203 people died of the flu in 2018 in Australia. 1,101 people have died in 20 months of COVID. And that's not counting the comorbidities that count within that, like cancer and heart disease. They've shut down the entire country. You live in Melbourne, Australia, you can't leave from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. from your home because we all know the virus sneaks out at night. Scary shit. And we're all supposed to be afraid because the unvaccinated people, they're destroying the vaccinated people. That's kind of confusing to me. If the vaccine works, you're protected, aren't you?
Tell it!
How could unvaccinated people be a threat to you? Besides that, 100 million Americans are unvaccinated. They're not all crazy people. Do you know the number one group that is vaccine resistant? Got a study? PhDs. Not MBAs and master's degrees. To get an MBA and master's degree, you got to regurgitate back what the professor tells you. PhD, you have to come up with your own individual thought. That's the first people. They're the most resistant. So I'm not telling you what to do in any way, shape, or form, but it might be useful not to let fear be the thing that controls your decision. If you look at Israel, they reported they have the largest study in the world now, 2.5 million people, a quarter of their population. Second highest, most vaccinated country in the world, 80% vaccination rate. 85% of the people in the hospital right now with COVID are double vaccinated. That's a fact. Massachusetts, 4 out of 5 in the hospital, already double vaccinated. So it might be useful to do your own homework. And again, I'm not telling you to take the vaccine or not take the vaccine. I think that's an individual and important decision. But being afraid of your neighbor is pretty stupid because there's risk in everything. 1,200 people. 1,200 people die every day. You know what they die of? Way more than COVID. Driving your car. That's a fact. Now, how the hell do you drive down the street at 65 miles an hour? Someone comes straight at you at 65 miles an hour. There's nothing to protect you except a yellow line. How do you do that? And every day, you know, I know, we all know, every day people cross that line, don't they? They're drunk, they fall asleep, they're texting, and they kill people. 1,200 a day. So why don't we all just stay home in our house?
Tell it!
Because you didn't have no life. No business, no anything. So let me remind you, life is risky. You're not going to get alive. That's how risky it is, okay? how do we do it? It's worth asking, since we're all here, to see if we can take our lives and our businesses and the people who want us to serve to the next level. I feel a kinship with you guys. Another reason I come to Russell is you. Because you're all people that have taken that step of risk, that four-letter word that seems to be the thing people try to avoid at all costs today, which is impossible. The only way to have no risk is have no life. Now you need to take intelligent risks. In fact, I've spent more than a decade studying the greatest financial traders in history, all self-made millionaires, nobody from the Lucky Sperm Club, nobody inherited it, they all did it themselves. They all did it different ways. And they don't just take massive risks. I'm not promoting that. They take intelligent risks. It's called asymmetrical risk reward, where I'm taking a little risk compared to the upside. I'd say driving your car is taking a little risk compared to the upside of having a life. And some other areas you might look at it that way. But you've already done that in this thing called business. You've taken the step. Now some of you fully, some of you partially, I understand that. And all of us in this room are different stages. But risk is life. If you want a life, you have to take risks. And by the way, how many of you, the greatest things in your life have come from some significant risks, right?
Yeah.
So I hope that for you, you will not let the culture condition you. I doubt you would, or you wouldn't be here today. Or even if you're here from some other part of the world on Zoom. And I really respect you for that. I also respect you because we're all brothers and sisters in the path. We're trying to figure out how to help people. Certainly we help ourselves if we grow, but we only get rewarded in proportion to how much more we help other people. If you want to make $1 billion, help 1 billion people. It's not hard to make $1 billion. But you got to start with one, you. I'm the product of what you're doing right now. I'm the product of self-education. I have nobody in my school, my environment, nobody in my family that ever was successful in business or financial terms, that's for sure. And most of them, without being disrespectful, not really successful in the most important area, emotional terms. Nobody's fault. Just a different belief, a different philosophy, because your beliefs create your life, and your beliefs can destroy your life, depending on which ones you adopt. I'll tell you what I'd like to have you consider destroying right now, because before I do any talk, I always have a bunch of people interview, ask a bunch of questions. We've done that here too. I keep seeing this phrase, imposter syndrome. How many of you feel times you got this imposter syndrome? Let me see your hands. Keep your hands up, look around the room. It's fucking bullshit. I'm sorry for my language. I didn't mean to use that language, but I'd rather be raw and real. What is the imposter syndrome? Someone raise your hand and tell me. Now, by the way, I'm on your side. I'm not here to attack you. I just want to understand. What is it, Jim? Not believing you are who you put yourself out to be, or believing you're not enough, right? And I want you to notice the vast majority of you raise your hand to that piece. Can I just tell you what it is? It's a fancy word for I'm scared. It's a fancy way to create a thing that you have that you can talk to other people about. See, if I have a significant problem, then if I'm not making progress, it's just this thing I have. It's bullshit. It's fear. Guess who's scared? Who's scared? Look around you outside this room. Almost everybody's scared. And it's nobody's fault. We have a media that's good people. I'm not here to rag on the media. They're good people. They're doing their job. Their job is to serve their shareholders. Is that their job? If they don't serve their shareholders and make a profit, they don't have a job. So they've learned something. The news is no longer informs us. That was decades ago. Now its job is to startle you, to piss you off, or to excite you. And there's algorithms of how to do this in social media. They're even better at it. But everybody in journalism knows if it bleeds, it leads. And so today, if you manage, and you used to be able to avoid the news, now you can. It follows you in your pocket. It's with you everywhere. And so I have so much empathy for human beings. They're so scared, because how could you not be when you're being inundated 24/7? Did you see Project Veritas where they...
Yeah! Woo! Woo!
There's a great group called Project Veritas, and they sent this woman out on a date, on a swipe right date, whatever they call those things, I forget what it's called. What's it called? Tinder. On a Tinder date with the top producer at CNN. She's wearing a camera right in the location where he'd be staring. And then she started asking questions, and he wanted to impress her, so he told her everything. On camera. About how babies were dropping, and Zucker would call on the red phone and say, put the death numbers up, put the death numbers up. And then he talked about people aren't reacting anymore. You know why? You never see any death numbers anymore because the numbers are no longer scary. So guess what? Guess what they're doing? He says, so Zucker's new thing is climate change, says we can scare the shit out of people forever and it never ends. That's the new thing on CNN. Of course, CNN's lost 80% of their viewership.
Fake news!
My larger point is a decision made from fear is the wrong decision. I respect any decision you make. Want to wear a mask, not wear a mask. Vaccine, not vaccine. I love that if you can make that educating yourself based on what you believe is right, not letting somebody scare you.
Yeah.
If you're going to be in business, you got to stop this fear bullshit of telling yourself that you have something that somebody made up and now you won't believe this bullshit. Imposter syndrome. What is that? I don't think I'm enough. Guess who doesn't think they're enough? I've spent the last 44 years of my life. I started when I was 3. Not supposed to laugh at that joke. I've spent 44 years of my life traveling to 195 countries. I've worked with the most successful people in the world and the most challenged. I've worked with kids in east of London or South Bronx addicted to cocaine. I've dealt with the top CEOs in Hollywood addicted to cocaine. They both have reasons why they're there. I've dealt with people with 52 multiple personalities splitting and then when my second arm put it back together again, and I've dealt with people with no personality with a big problem. There's nothing I've not seen. And what I can tell you is all that stops you is just fear. But we come up with all these stories because it feels so much better than saying I'm scared, because we're all achievers in this room. Who considers yourself to be an achiever? Make some noise. Achievers, we don't get scared. That's bullshit. We get stressed. Stress is the achiever word for fear. Right? Because I like to sound stressed. You're stressed. I gotta get this done. Well, what if you don't get it done? Well, I have to. But what if you don't? Well, it'll fall apart. Well, what if it falls apart? Oh, then I'll fail. What if you fail? Well, I'll be worthless. So if I follow the trail of your stress, it'll take me to your fear. And what I want you to know, my dear friends, be more gentle with yourself. Everyone's afraid because we all have a 2 million-year-old brain. And it's designed not to make you happy. That's your job. It's designed to make you survive. And to survive, fear is a great thing, isn't it? Because what does it do? It doesn't quit. It looks for what's wrong all the time, unless you train it not to. It looks for what's wrong, what could hurt you, and it was designed to watch for a saber-toothed tiger. But we don't have those anymore. So now, what are people thinking of me? Do I have enough money? And if you're broke in the United States, and I don't want anybody to be broke, but if you're on government assistance, you're in the top 10% of earners in the world. That's a fact. Most of the planet still lives on $3 a day. Think about that. We've completely lost perspective. So we have this fear about shit that, like it's life and death, and it's not because the system's still there. We don't know the way to use it. So if you don't take control of it and you let the environment control you, you're going to settle for far less than you deserve to be, share, create, give, do, or enjoy.
Yeah.
And so the secret is to stop telling yourself these stories that are limiting you. Because so many of you are doing well. In this room, I mean, let's be honest. If you're in business, you're a gladiator. And why do I say that? Because there's very few sports where the more you play, the more likely you die. And business is one of them. Let me give you the stats. Let me give you the stats, my dear friends.